Hello and welcome to another episode of Blue Alpine TV. In today's episode, we'll talk about Bithumb banning certain countries from using their platform. We'll talk about the Ethereum Classic hard fork, and we'll talk about everything you need to know about the EOS airdrops that's coming soon. But before we get started with this news, obviously we need to have a quick look into the market, and the market looks very red. I mean, it was just a couple of weeks ago where we were close to 10K and now we're down to 7,235 US dollars again. The entire market is down, and guys, don't get too frustrated. I mean, if you look at the numbers every day, it can be quite frustrating, but my recommendation in this phase is always to use this time and research interesting cryptocurrencies that you wanted to invest but never had really the time to actually look into. I will try to support you as much as I can these days. I will try to release a couple of quick analysis in the Telegram channel. So if you're not part of that, make sure to join the Telegram channel first, and then you'll get my quick analysis on certain interesting cryptocurrencies in the top 100. Now, let's jump into this news story. Bithumb crypto exchange bans accounts from 11 countries. So Bithumb cryptocurrency exchange will ban users from 11 countries starting May 28th. As part of a new anti-money laundering AML practice, according to an official announcement. Now, the official announcement has been in Korean, but I will share that with you guys so that you can have a look at it. It says here in the press release issued May 27th, Bithumb confirmed that citizens of states comprising of the non-cooperative countries and territories (NCCT) initiative will no longer be able to use its service. Now, what countries are part of these? We're talking about countries like Iran, Ethiopia, Iraq, Serbia, Sri Lanka, and Tunisia. Now, the NCCT is kind of a interesting construct, and it's quite controversial in terms of the name. It is meant to be that these countries or parts of these countries are, for example, funding terrorism indirectly and not cooperating when it comes to different things. So this is kind of I want to say, critical term here. Now, why Bithumb is doing that is very simple. Bithumb is under the very strict rule and scrutiny of South Korea and the South Korean government. South Korean government is very strict when it comes to anti-money laundering laws, as well as KYC laws, the know your customer laws. So it's kind of to be expected that they will play nice with the regulators and with the governments here. So that is just another step there. Now, if you're part of those countries and watching these videos, one thing you could do is look for other exchanges. Now, Bithumb obviously is a big exchange in South Korea. That doesn't mean, however, that you're banned from using stuff like Binance or Bittrex or other cryptocurrency exchanges. We also have a video about cryptocurrencies. It's a bit far below. I think it's about 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks ago that we released this video. So give it a go, kind of look into what cryptocurrency exchanges there are, and then give it a thought about changing maybe. Next up, we have Ethereum Classic. Now, Ethereum Classic is set to fork tomorrow, which is Tuesday, May 29th. And it's doing this hard fork in the mainnet at block 5,900,000 for saving its profits. Now, what exactly is the story here? Now, the story is essentially because Ethereum has been built in a way, or actually Ethereum Classic has been built in a way that proof of work can actually turn unprofitable if the block proof of work kind of process continues as is. It says here on May 29th, Ethereum Classic team is doing a hard fork to remove the difficulty bomb. And difficulty bomb is essentially this meaning of time bomb, that as soon as a certain block number is crossed, that the difficulty will increase, and essentially turning mining unprofitable. The change in which all users of the original Ethereum blockchain will need to update their software is aimed at disabling a feature designed to increase the difficulty of mining the protocol's rewards ahead of a shift to a new consensus algorithm. Now, it says here, unlike Ethereum, the ETC team has no plans to migrate to a proof of stake, and that is why the difficulty bump needs to be removed to avoid collapse of the network. Now, in Ethereum's case, as mentioned here, They want to change to proof of stake, so they see the kind of the future in proof of stake, hence why they want to move it. Ethereum Classic is kind of known to stay on that classic route of Ethereum that they wanted to keep, so that is why they won't switch to proof of stake. Also, one of the core Ethereum Classic cooperative members says here, proof of work seems to be the most decentralized approach currently to achieving consensus from what the majority of the community feels. He added, there is a lot of new algorithms being proposed, like proof of stake, delegated proof of stake, so DPoS, and Byzantine fault tolerance. I think NEO is using Byzantine fault tolerance, and DPoS is, I'm not sure. I thought NEO is using kind of a delegated Byzantine fault tolerance. So the BFT it is, and the delegated proof of stake, I'm actually not sure which currency is using that already. But he says, and within our company, we're not convinced that these newer versions of consensus are any more decentralized. We're somewhat afraid that they may be more centralized than, say, proof of work. Now, I think this is a smart decision. Now, obviously, Ethereum Classic has a very strong community. Since the split after the DAO hack happened with Ethereum, they have to kind of keep their core community alive by making smart decisions like these. And I think, like, no matter what you think about proof of stake or delegated proof of stake or Byzantine fault tolerance, in the end, it is very possible that none of these new consensus algorithms are better than proof of work. So it is always a risk to change the consensus algorithm. That being said, proof of work also has its problems. And we will see how this whole thing develops. Now, if you hold any Ethereum Classic tokens, it depends. So normally when you hold them on the exchanges will kind of make an announcement about supporting the hard fork or not supporting it. Now, if you are holding them on a ledger, normally you will have to update your ledger or update the coins in some kind of way, whether it's on my Ether wallet or the ledger is then, of course, a kind of a different story. But in any case, as if there are new information about this, we will let you know. But I think it will be interesting. I kind of start to like the dynamic that is kind of starting between Ethereum and Ethereum Classic. Now, no matter what you think about the political decisions or the ideological decisions about Ethereum Classic on a technological level, it is interesting that they want to stay in proof of work for now. And kind of wait and see. Maybe if proof of stake will be the perfect decentralized solution to these problems, great. Then they could still do the switch afterwards. That's kind of the beauty of technology and kind of programmable money or programmable tokens. Now, next up or last up, we actually have kind of a news story, or not news story, but overview, which I really liked. It is essentially everything you need to know about the first wave of EOS airdrops. As you know, EOS has kind of climbed up a little bit. So it's on place 5. It even kind of ran over Litecoin, especially because Litecoin has been taking a hit as well. But the reason why EOS is so high is because a lot of people are waiting for these airdrops. Now, what is different with these EOS airdrops is kind of it says here one of the most promising things about the EOS is the airdrop. Is the airdrops. Unlike Ethereum, many EOS projects are choosing to collect zero funds up front. Instead, they simply drop their token to the EOS community while dropping themselves tokens to fund their project. Now, this obviously could be quite controversial. Could be very well that people are saying, well, this is kind of creating money out of thin air, creating tokens out of thin air. What's the idea behind that? Still, we'll have to wait and see. I know that the EOS mainnet will be launching, I think next month, mid next month, something like this. So EOS is one of those interesting projects. Now, I have released the EOS quick analysis in the Telegram channel, so you can kind of drop in there and find my release there. And in my opinion, yeah, EOS is an interesting project. but we will see how this whole develops. Now, long story short, give this a read if you hold any EOS and if you're kind of wanting to look into the different EOS projects that are here. I'm not kind of condoning or like saying you should invest into EOS or you should invest into one of these projects. I think it makes sense that you kind of understand what you're investing in, and if EOS is the one, then yeah, of course you also are getting those airdrops and could also benefit from those. So give these 13 first airdrops a read, and also inform yourself and think about whether it makes sense to buy EOS now. And with that, guys, we're already at the end of today's episode. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the podcast, join the Telegram channel. I'll launch some new quick analysis in there soon. So yeah, I'll see you inside and see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye.